And we're live, Sarah.
Yay! So, this is the Renegade Society radio show, and we are here live with some exciting new guests. I am Sarah Erickson, Director of Sales and Marketing, and we have two people that I have not ever interviewed, never really talked to before. So, this is pretty cool because I get to make new friends today, which is hard to do when you're in quarantine. So, that's pretty exciting for me. So, everybody, please welcome the Brothers Murph. Yay!
Hi,
Hello.
everybody.
Could you two, just so our viewers and maybe for myself as well, tell us just a little bit about yourselves?
Sure. Take it away, Nick.
You want me to go? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, we are the Brothers Murph. No, so we're the Brothers Murph. We have a YouTube channel and a Twitch channel. We do stuff about board games, or we talk about board games. Most of our stuff is based around discussion pieces rather than reviews. We actually don't do any reviews on our channel. And then we do like top tens and like discussion pieces and the like sketch comedy and just like generally videos that we think are kind of cool. We did one today that's just literally like super eye candy shots of board games, just slow pans and stuff, just just absolute
Put it to
eye
a
candy.
fat beat and let it be.
Just put it to a fat beat and slow it down, and every game looks great. It's amazing. And we are two real life brothers, which we get asked decently often, actually. Are you guys really brothers? We're like, yeah, it's not just a clever. We're not Mumford and Son. That's not Mumford and all of his children. And so, which is confusing to me, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What else, Mikey?
The main thing, we do all that stuff kind of on YouTube that Nick was talking about. And then the other main thing that we do is we live stream on Twitch. We have a Twitch channel and we do full run throughs of games. We mostly focus on the games that we know and love, but we take requests from people that watch us. We check out new stuff from publishers and things from time to time that our fans are interested in seeing and kind of giving our first thoughts. So it's a kind of a cool way. That's the closest to kind of reviewing that we get. We do kind of playthroughs of games and then talk about them and why we like them. If it's a new game we didn't love everything, talk about those. So it's kind of a good way to get a good feel about a game because you can see it kind of play out in real time. And then Nick and I squeal and do a bunch of silly stuff on top of that to make it hopefully fun for people. So that's the two kind of main things we do.
Yeah, it's a lot of
fun. That's awesome. So how did you guys get started doing this? What made you decide it was a good idea to start doing not reviews, but your fun board game videos?
Sure. We did start sort of in a way doing reviews. This was, I don't know, 3
years ago in April.
Yes. We went to, it was then MeepleCon in Las Vegas, now Dice Tower West. And we were just like people who like played board games, and we were kind of like getting deeper into the hobby at that point, had a good collection by this time. And so we were just there playing games, and while we were there, like the Dice Tower folks were there, and I remember this is like, so we're just like, oh, that's Tom Bassel, man,
he's so tall.
Oh wow, we're just like fanboying out, and
a little bit.
And so we just had like this good
being
weekend.
Cool about it.
Being cool. We're just like,
we're just like leaning back a little too far, trying to act casual,
Never quite looking at them. Coming off
like
poorly.
A first date.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to let on too much.
Yeah, you don't want to let know how much you like them yet,
Yeah. So we had this weekend, we geeked out all weekend, and it was really fun. And then it was like just a couple weeks after that.
Yeah, maybe.
Tom put out a call on his Board Game Breakfast show saying, hey, like we're looking for contributors. And Nick kind of came to me and said, let's find something silly to make. We've always kind of made like weird sketches and stuff ever since we were little kids.
Yeah.
So we're like, let's find something to do. It'd be kind of cool. And like literally that kind of off the cuff idea to like do a video one time turned into this whole thing. Like none of this was pre-planned. It was just, we basically said like, let's find really bad board games from thrift stores, like all the old games that no one plays because they're horrible, and do reviews on them and kind of make it like jokey reviews. And then we kind of liked what we did, and then it started our own channel doing kind of discussion things, and on we go. So
now it's
kind of by accident. Yeah.
This is what we do now. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So I've heard that recently you've actually expanded some of your interests beyond just board games into a little bit of miniature painting, possibly some Power Rangers miniature painting. Is that true? Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, I've actually painted for a while. So we always say that. We always say that that's not true anymore. But we always say that Mike's the actor, Nick's the artist. Because I've been an artist for a long time, since high school. I've drawn, I do drawings and stuff like that, and I've drawn for a long time. And then Mike is an actor. That's originally why he came out. We're from Northern California originally, and that's why he came out to LA. And then I eventually followed him a couple years later. And so those are kind of always been our two interests. So the sketch comedy stuff, Mike kind of takes the lead of that kind of stuff because that's what he does. And then I've always kind of done all the graphics and stuff. But I got a couple games. Actually, the way I ended up getting deeper and deeper into board games was we'd gotten a game called Zombicide right when it first came out, and it's got a bunch of pictures, and I was like, oh, this would be cool to paint these. And so I started looking up painting tutorials on YouTube. Through that, I found, I think, Rado and a couple other reviewers. Eventually found the Dice Tower, started going deeper and deeper and deeper in the board game hobby, as it does for all of us. And now all of a sudden we're on this show, and so that's, the natural progression of things. And so I've been painting minis now for probably like 5 or 6 years. But I've kind of gotten, like, I would say, like, serious into it in the last year, where I've really tried to actively improve and try some new advanced techniques. And I've tried to take in a lot more information about mini painting, aside from just the base coat, wash, highlight, done. Try to really do a bunch of different stuff. And then we decided we wanted to kind of do a mini painting stream, and we already live stream on Gen Con's channel. And so we approached them about doing a second show for mini painting, which they agreed to. And so we started doing it there. And then we decided to move it over just to our channel. And so now we're doing mini painting every Wednesday morning on our own channel. And Mike, who does not paint minis and really at all, we were like, this will be a fun thing, because it could be kind of like, I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but me kind of teaching Mike and guiding Mike through painting from a guy who's painted one miniature in his whole life onward. And so the next thing we're actually going to be painting, starting this Wednesday on our channel at 9 a.m. Pacific time, is we're going to be starting to paint some Power Rangers minis, because we just got the game and we're very, very excited to play it and paint it, because the minis are those big, just giant, chunky, maximum chunk on those minis, just big old things. Charts. Yeah, exactly. And so been really excited to paint them, because we've always loved, we're 90s kids. We grew up with when Power Rangers destroyed in the US. And so we actually haven't started painting them yet, but we're going to be starting to paint this Wednesday. We'll probably paint them for a couple weeks. Yeah, and we're really, really excited. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. And you can watch me be the novice.
Yeah, I love that idea of you teaching somebody who doesn't know how to paint a little bit about that, because I think as someone who's sort of in between, it would really help me to go back to those basics and make sure I'm doing everything right, and then get a little bit better and see some places where I could improve in my own painting. So to watch that. That sounds very exciting. Yeah, I know we have a ton of fans in our Power Rangers group that have really started painting and getting into painting because of the game, or have just continued enjoying that hobby. So it's a really great time to paint right now too, because it's something do on your own. And what I love about it too is that for board games, there aren't a lot of things that you can do on your own outside of just organizing your games, making sure they look on the shelf. What do you do when you're just at home and you want to still be interacting with your games, but there's nobody there to play with?
Yeah.
So good idea,
it's a
guys.
good time
That's
to
awesome.
paint. Yeah. Come on and join us and stuff. It's good, because with our chat, people can ask those questions about, hey, how would you approach this? And I'm thinking about doing this color or this technique, and Nick is really good at catering and driving the stream toward that kind of level of, it's really cool to talk shop if everyone knows all this about painting, but it's kind of intimidating to get into. So we can operate at a level that's good for me, which I think is really useful for folks out there.
Yeah. And I would say that something like the Power Rangers is not to keep plugging the game, but check out the Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid. But nonetheless, it's a good game. I always say, set yourself up for the mini painting, set yourself up to succeed. Paint something that is very forgiving. So I started with Zombicide. I always say start with something like that, because they're zombies. If they look terrible, they're zombies. They're falling apart. That's what they're supposed to look bad, And so don't start with your just beautiful giant blood rage monsters, don't start with that. Start with something that's going to give you the best chance of
low
success.
Stakes.
And I would say the Power Rangers, particularly the Rangers themselves, are big, beautiful minis, but the color scheme on them is pretty simple, because one, you have a reference to go off of. You can just look at what Power Rangers colors are like, but it's mostly you know, it's like pink with the kind of big white diamonds and stuff like that. And so there's definitely still a lot you can do, but it's a nice entry point into the hobby of mini painting. And then once you get comfortable after you've done all the rangers, then start moving into some of the monsters and like Rita and stuff like that, who have more like the big guy with the big cloak and stuff like that. Like then start moving into that, but like start at a spot where you're not just going to get frustrated and downtrodden, because mini painting can be very fun and cathartic, but also can be kind of frustrating and intimidating as well. So start with something that can give you the best chance of success, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Well, and you've also got all the foot soldiers that come in the main box
Yeah,
too.
you can putty people, yeah.
Yeah, you can pretty much just attach those to a screwdriver, dip them in some Army Painter quick shade, and turn it on, and you're almost done,
They're
right?
pretty much good. Yeah, I mean,
like,
really,
that's a great starting point.
they're putty people. You can't really mess them up. They're by definition kind of weird looking, you know, because they're made of putty, and no one understands what they are. Just say the best thing about mini painting is you can just be like, it's my artist's interpretation, and no one can say you're wrong. They're like, you chose to paint it like that? You're like, yeah, it was my artist's interpretation. They're like, oh, that's deep.
But it is nice to have just a box of these where you have quite a few that you can do as well or as poorly as you feel like. And you can try one out and mess it up horribly and then just move on and say it's fine.
Yeah,
exactly.
You really can.
Like,
Nick always comes back to this refrain. He says, no matter what you paint, however it comes out, it's still going to look better than an unpainted mini. Yeah. So just paint them, and whatever you get, it's going to be awesome. People are going to be like, that's super cool.
And you know, you're never looking at the mini this close. They'll think it's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I have painted Tyranids. I played Trollbloods for War Machine and Hordes when I very first started miniature painting. So I've painted a lot of really terrible miniatures, but it's also really nice to take those really bad ones that you start with and then see, because you improve really quickly. So yay, Tyranids!
That's right. So, I'm a blurred. I'm here. Yeah, I've been slowly collecting Tyranids and not building or painting any of them for years. And so it's just one of those things where I just keep buying it and never do anything with them.
But the boxes look so fun.
I know. I'm just like, well, when I first got them, I was like, yeah. And then I got super intimidated because they're just like, Tyranids are all mega monsters and stuff like that. And even like the Hormigons and Termagants, they're just still like, they're just intimidating because they're very alien, you know, which is the whole point. And so I just was like, I'm just gonna, and also I can't decide on the color scheme, and it's really crippling me.
I gotta say, Nick has been fiddling with the color scheme for like 5 years. Every time I ask how those Tyranids come, he's just like,
it's a big commitment.
Like the carapace versus the underbelly, because it's actually not that much. It's really, and he's only ever painting small amounts of one at a time to see how the colors go.
I can't decide on the color scheme.
Or
you have 3 options. You can do them like the box where they're like purple or whatever.
I don't like the
You can do green so they look like really alien, or you can do them like bumblebees and make them yellow and black. I don't think there are other reasonable options.
That's a fair point. That is a fair point. And it's frustrating because like there's so many parts of like I would need to get like Warhammer 40K. And I don't even really want to play it that much. I just like the minis. But it's like there's so much of like chaos. Like Blood Angels are always red, you know, like they're red. Khorne is like red. But Tyranids, there's not really like Ultramarines are blue. You know, there's like certain factions that like actually have to be a certain color or else they won't be accepted into some tournament. So it's like, but Tyranids is just like, it's literally whatever you want. And that's actually kind of debilitating for me because I'm just like, I just need some kind of like, they got to be green. I'm like, okay, then I can just make them whatever green I want, but I know they have to be green. So
Power Rangers are perfect for you then, because
exactly. Honestly, yes.
Yeah. If you paint the Red Ranger blue, people are going to have opinions about it.
Yeah, they're going to be.
That ain't right.
Not blue. Billy's not red, rather.
Yeah.
That would be a big problem.
Yeah.
So you clearly really like Power Rangers, and I assume that some of our fans watching do too. And so we're actually going to be giving away a copy of our upcoming Allies pack, which isn't even out yet. So if our fans would like to, we have a link to the contest. You just go fill that out. And it was inspired by your upcoming Power Rangers painting. So all of our thank you for doing that.
Of course.
And then also, this is a nice segue into our next topic. So along with that, you can either win a copy of the Allies pack, or you can win a copy of Wendake. So I've heard that you guys also like other board games, and on our previous, oh hey, look, Windake's right there. On our previous episode, we gave of Paladins of the West Kingdom. And this, yeah, you guys said maybe you kind of like some of those games. Not sure about that. But I would love to hear your preferences for as gamers, a little bit about as board gaming fans for you guys who are not maybe as familiar with your content, what your tastes and preferences are.
Oh man, it's funny because they've evolved over time. You mentioned Wendake, then Paladins of the West Kingdom. Paladins of the West Kingdom was my #1 game of 2019. Wendake was Nick's, was it of yours of 2018?
Yeah, my #1 game of 2018.
Yeah, Castell was right up there as well.
It's in my top 10, Wendake.
Yeah, so good. So we started off by getting into Zombicide, as Nick mentioned. So we were big into like chucking dice, minis everywhere, huge games sprawling out. And that kind of got us going. And then we did that and kind of was a co-op game. We also got into Pandemic. That was a big co-op game. And then at some point we started shifting more and more into kind of classic like Euro games. You know, something like a Paladins of the West Kingdom will grab my attention instantly. Like if there's any sort of game that's like that, has similar things where you can kind of set yourself up by doing A, B, C, then D, ultimately to do E is the goal. That's kind of how we've shifted. I think Nick and I, we've gotten drier over time.
Yeah, we hate admitting it, but
like good whiskey.
Yeah.
We became
I'd like grapes to be
nerds.
a big part of this game. I want it to only be grapes. You know, stuff like that.
So I think that there are two different types of gamers, and you'll have to tell me which type you are. So there are gamers that are good at long-term planning. Like I have Fields of Arley actually set up on my table right now, and my computer is stacked up on top of the pieces. And I would call that a very long-term strategy game. There's about 6 different steps between any one thing that you really want to do. Or there's the best decisions in the moment type of gamer, where you can look at all of the different options you have and pick the best thing to do right now and do that option. And I am very, very much in the second category. My husband is very much in the first category. So I wonder how you would put each of you into those categories of Euro gamers.
Man,
I'm
in the third category where I don't do either very well.
Yeah, there's that.
Okay, that's fine.
I think maybe long term. At least that's what I aim to be good at. I think is to be able. I feel the most satisfied, I guess, in games when I can put together a plan and have the vision to see, oh, I need to go here, but then here, then over here, and be aware, because if someone goes there, I need to actually go down here and execute the plan. That's probably the most satisfying thing, when I can feel clever. I don't know if I'm so good at, like, we have friends that are very smart people that can just like look at a board and you can see them, they take forever to play, but it's because they're doing calculations and they can actually see every possibility, and it's incredibly fascinating. And I'm like, I'm definitely not that. So I think I'm a little better at if I can get on a path and execute it over time, personally. How about you, Nick? What do you think you are?
I don't know which one I'm not good at particularly either. And I would say the main thing I'm really bad at is I'm really bad at like paying attention. If it's a game where like you have to be paying attention to what the other players are doing, that's a game I'm gonna lose at. Because I really like multiplayer solitaire games where everyone's playing, but like you're kind of doing your own thing and you're basically just trying to like outplay everyone, but you're not really affecting each other. I just want to play. I basically want to play a solo game with other people at the table. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
I love that about it so much. Like that's the West Kingdom, I think, is the best example of what you just described, and I love that about it.
Yeah, because you can do like a little thing like, oh, I wanted to go to that spot to get that little bonus, but it's not conflict.
No,
and really what it is you're just trying to outmaneuver and like be more ever smarter than your opponent and be more efficient, and like that's really fun to try to put that puzzle together.
And
for the record,
like,
horrible Paladins.
The thing that got me, I think, into gaming, at least into hobby gaming, like the mechanic or the part of gaming that really hooked me and still does to this day. And I'm not sure, I guess this would put me in the camp of like the quick decisions one, but like I like having to adapt in games. Like, that's my favorite part of gaming. It's like, I had this plan, something got in the way of that plan. Now I have to switch to make that, to keep doing what I'm doing. And so I think what made me fall in love with that was us originally playing Pandemic, because that's that. They're like, okay, we need to go here, try and cure this disease, da-da-da-da. Oh no, an epidemic and 2 outbreaks happened over here. Now we got to move and take care of that. And I really like that. And so I think my favorite kinds of games have always been worker placement games. And I think that's the reason, is because you have a long-term strategy, but because so much of it is just taking places. And if someone takes the place that you really, really need to, you then have to switch and adapt to continue your game and to try and continue to make whatever you're trying to do work. And so I really like that. And I think that's why I tend to gravitate towards worker placement game or like action selection games like that, where it's like you're doing your own thing, but there is a bit of interaction. Like, that's the kind of interaction I like in games, where it's like, oh, you took the spot I wanted to go to. How can I figure this out now? So I guess that means I'm more into like the short-term planning, but I'm not particularly good at it. I just know that's what I enjoy about board games.
Interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. So you guys obviously really love board games. We talked a little bit about miniatures, but I assume that you have other personal hobbies outside of this particular industry we're in. So tell me about some other things that you really enjoy.
Oh man, there's a few things. I mean, my main personal kind of hobby and thing that takes up time outside of here is doing live theater. So that's what I first started doing when I started acting, was live theater. I kind of transitioned to focusing on film and different things like that, as you do in LA, and then have kind of refound a live performance recently, and have kind of been helping be a part of this developing community theater in Ventura, where I live. So that's been super fun, you know, because what we do here is, in our little weird way, storytelling, and it scratches that artistic itch, but it's cool to also be able to pair it with kind of, you know, the art form that kind of first got me into what ultimately led to this moment in a weird way. So for me, it's doing theater. If I'm not doing this, it's usually doing that. So
Are you still able to do that right now? Is there some sort of online digital way to
we're
do
working on it. We're working on ways to do it. So currently the theater group that I belong to, we're working on some different kind of short form pieces that will maybe go over and be able to be watched live, and they kind of perform it over like a Zoom call. There's a few of them that are going to be taking place within the world of a Zoom call, fittingly. So that we can actually all do it from afar. So we're working on things like that. Of course, like theater in the traditional sense of all coming together and sitting in a big room isn't happening at the moment. You can always plan for the future, and it's kind of presented fun opportunities to think of like, how can we engage our audience and do stuff even if we can't put on a show in the traditional way. So it's kind of fun to think of those new things that we could be doing and continue doing even after all this stuff is over. So we're finding ways to make art.
Yeah, very creative. I like that. How about you, Nick?
So my main thing outside of, I guess, board games, and then I'd say mini painting, which is board game adjacent, is, again, like I said, I'm an artist, and so I draw a lot. I draw with markers, usually is what I use. I use comic markers, and so that's mostly what I do. If I'm not working or painting, I'm usually drawing. That's what I usually do on my days off. I'll draw for usually most of the day. And so that's mostly what I do. And so I do mostly portrait work and kind of like realistic stuff. That's generally what my forte is. And yeah, I really, really enjoy it. And then outside of that, we both read a decent amount. We both read a lot of fantasy. That's kind of one of our main things is kind of the way to my escapism, I guess, is reading. That's the way I do to get away from the world.
Best way to unwind, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's like, to me, fantasy is the best way to get away from the world, because for the most part, it's not set in this world, and so like it's the best way for me to kind of get away for a while. And yeah, and so that's the main things we do outside. I mean, we work a lot, and so we don't have too much free time. But when we do, and if Mike's not acting, I'm not drawing, I'm usually just reading or playing games more. So.
Yeah.
What science fiction books would you recommend? I haven't read a lot of them, to be honest. I've read a lot of other books, but not science fiction.
Sure, man. I don't know. Like, if you want to go specifically science fiction, I'm trying to think. Like, I like Heinlein and stuff. I mean, we mostly read kind of stuff in the fantasy. The main thing that I like to read is the Dresden Files. It's my favorite book series. It does take place in this world, but a different version. So it's it's about a wizard who lives in modern day Chicago, and he's a private investigator, and just like it's basically saying like every sort of thing that's been a fairy tale, every sort of thing that's been in a book, every sort of monster, they're all real. They all exist somewhere. And he's just like this dude who's like super poor and drives like an old VW Bug and just gets beat up all the time. And I'm like, that's amazing to set a very magical world in very real Chicago.
Yes,
so
in very normal Chicago.
Yeah, so that's my fun kind of like filler. They're just fun books.
Yeah, specifically sci-fi. We mostly read fantasy more so than. I'm actually actively looking for more sci-fi because I want to get more into sci-fi. But I just tend to gravitate. We got introduced through most of our family, but especially our dad is a massive Lord of the Rings fan. So that was like our gateway into. So it's like high fantasy tend to be what we enjoy because of Pops. And so, but the one I read recently, it's called Red Rising, the Red Rising trilogy. It's a sci-fi novel, especially for board gamers. I always say it's like, if you like Terraforming Mars, the board game, this series is about, it takes place on Mars, and because it has been terraformed, and it's this really, really cool world where there are a bunch of different like classes of people. So there's like reds, and reds are like the bottom, and then there's like, and every class has a specialty. So there's like blues, and blues are like pilots. So they usually have pilot stuff in the military. Then there's like oranges, and oranges are technicians, and they do stuff like that. Then there's like, and then the very, very top, there's golds, and golds are like the highest beings essentially. And they're like 8 feet tall, and they're just like incredibly fast and strong and smart and all. And it's just like
horrible.
Exactly. And the book is called Red Rising, so you can probably guess generally what's going to happen. But it's really, really good sci-fi. It's absolutely heart-wrenching a lot of different times. So get ready to have your heart ripped out of your chest.
It's brutal.
But it's really, really good. And that was the last kind of sci-fi thing I read that I really, really enjoyed. But I'm actively looking for more sci-fi. So if you have any suggestions either, Sarah, just let us know. Because I want to know as well.
Sarah, did you mute yourself? Because
I cannot hear you. I was like, oh, is there something on my end?
Oh, there you
I'm
went.
sorry.
Okay.
No, you're good. Okay, now we can hear you. I was like,
I'm
gonna keep nodding until it comes back.
Just wanted us to lean in and listen really close.
That's just like, oh man, what you're saying is interesting. Yes.
The best secrets ever. No, I was saying the most recent sci-fi book I read that I really enjoyed is by this author Ian Banks, and he does quite a few really cool novels in this series, but the one that I think you'd really enjoy is The Player of Games. And it's basically this far future society where everybody has every single thing that they want. And so you have your own house. It's designed exactly how you want. You can terraform planets, whatever you want. There's no money. Everything's just perfect, but you can play board games basically. And one of the characters in here is the best player. He is just way better at board games than anybody else. And they're really abstract. Like they don't go into exactly what these games are or anything, but he's contacted essentially by the government and says there is this society way out on the edge of the universe. We haven't interacted with them before, but they essentially figure out how their government is going to work and elect their next president through a game that they play that's very complicated, that sounds basically like a war game, like a tabletop war game. Okay. And so he is contacted because the government wants him to go in there and actually disrupt this game that's about to happen for some political reasons. And it is amazing. It's so excellent, and I feel such a good connection with it because it's a sci-fi book that is about board games.
That's such a weird concept. I love that.
Yeah,
I'll check that out for sure.
It was really excellent. So I highly recommend it. Is a great book, and his other books are good as well.
Okay. The Player of Games, you said?
Yeah, The Player of Games. And I believe that they're actually making a movie coming out hopefully next year. Who knows now? But I heard that there was talk about making a movie with one of his other games, or other books, not this one, but part of what's called the Culture series.
Okay.
So there you go.
Make that board game one. Renegade, you get in there. You get that,
I know,
right? You get that plug. You make sure the game they're playing is Paladins of the West Kingdom. You make sure of that. That's the political game that decides this whole world over here is just Paladins of the West Kingdom. You know?
Yep. I love that.
And the one they play for fun is Architects of the West Kingdom.
Yep.
Well, I think that they would actually just play Tome Saga, right? Because then you connect all three of the games.
Right, exactly.
Well, that's you make a trilogy of films. One each features each of it. Then you have a supplemental film. It's the whole Avengers Endgame. There's a lot of room.
This is how you do it, Sarah. We got this. We got this made. This is how you get Shem to finish out the West Kingdom, and then he's obviously got to the South and the East Kingdom, and then you have it where this world, all of them, the world is broken up into these 4 kingdoms, and then they come together to play one, and they each everyone in the North Kingdom plays the 3 games, everyone in the West Kingdom plays those 3 games, and the South and the East, and then they come together to play one mega game. And that decides the next leader or whatever it is, but it's all just Renegade, and you just watch.
It's called
you
the
just watch that paper
Kingdom
rain
series.
in. You just watch it rain in. You gotta start taking baths and $100 bills.
Start spending the money now because it's
give Shem a raise, and then you just be like, all right, we need to crank these out, brother, because they're making these movies. So
you can't George R. R. Martin this.
We just need to do this. So the next time we're actually all together at a convention, I feel like we need to play Tome Saga all the way through.
I'm down. Let's do it. That sounds awesome.
Never done it, so I want to do the whole thing.
Yeah, we got to realize it. We got to visualize this future we're building for everybody. It's gonna be great.
Cosplay and stuff. That'll be great.
Yeah.
And then all of the we'll have to deal with whatever comes of our game. We'll just have to put up with it, obviously.
Love it. I'm all in. Let's do it.
So I also heard from somebody, and it was probably you too, that you also like rock climbing, which is a little bit different. It's a nice escape from board games and being inside. Everybody's looking for things that they can do outside right now. So do you want to talk about that a little bit and where rock climbing has taken you?
Sure. Yeah. It's been this cool, amazing, definitely the most fun physically, I think physical activity we've ever had. And so we've had periods where we've done a lot of climbing, and then, periods where it's been tougher and stuff. The last couple of years have been a little tougher because we're traveling so much and stuff like that. But it's been really amazing, to get outside, to move your body and stuff. And then one thing that I've found is it becomes this rock climbing is this, it makes you smarter, because it just looks like, and it very much is just like pull yourself up a rock, and everything's hard to do. But then once you get kind of good, you start realizing there's all these intricate balancing things and all this small stuff that's going on. And so one thing we learned is because we learn more about climbing, from far away, you just see Nick do this, and me at the bottom, I'm blank. I'm just like, whoa, how'd you do that? It's amazing, because you understand all of the little shifts and things that are happening. And I find that it settles you down, it focuses you, and then it also makes you smarter, because all you're doing the whole time is problem solving. You're just figuring out, now that I'm over here, what do I need to do? It's kind of like a board game. You need to do A, B, C, and D to finally do E, which is make the move. And so it's this weird mental game, so much more than the physical stuff, which is hard enough, because again, you have to defy gravity. So it's just a really cool thing.
I love the movie Free Solo with Alex Honnold.
Yes.
He's from our hometown,
Yeah, that really shows you how important the mental part of that is. I really enjoyed watching that movie. And since we watched it, of course, we were getting all sorts of advertisements for all sorts of other little YouTube videos. And there's a lot of really cool stuff out there. But I completely agree. I watch these and I'll see somebody climbing up this thing that just looks like it has tons of holds, and it looks super easy, and it doesn't look that difficult or steep or anything. And they're having a really difficult time. And I know this is a world-class rock climber, and I know that it must be incredibly difficult. And then there will be something that looks super impossible. And then Alex Honnold is just spider climbing up this flat face that there's nothing to
pretty much.
Yeah, he's like, no, that's not hard. You just do this and stay. It's pressure, and you're like, but it looks so. Hands,
it's. I don't know if you know this, Sarah, but working out is the worst. And so the main thing for us is we both just hate. I hate it so much.
Clearly, I love it.
Oh, I lifted 5 more pounds this week. Cool. It's just I don't know. It just working out does not do anything for me. So we wanted to exercise more, and we wanted to find something that we found fun, so that we'd keep doing it. Rock climbing is the way, because again, it's it kicks your butt physically. You're lifting your body off the ground to climb a wall. Absolutely. It's hard. And at first, like Mike said, you're just kind of all arms just doing that. And then you find all these different techniques to like move your body and shift your weight to make it, to put less pressure on your hands and to do this. And then you can like twist this way, and that allows you to reach a little bit farther. You can grab. And like Mike said, it's a big mental puzzle, because if like say you're in a gym and you're like, okay, I'm going to do the red route, and it's just a bunch of red holds. And you're like, I got to figure out how to get to the top using only the reds. And it literally is like you trying something, falling, go, no, that didn't work. And then you jump, no, that didn't work. Oh, okay, that worked. And then you try something, no, that didn't work. And it's just this giant puzzle that you're trying to put together. And when you do finish it, it's so satisfying, because one, you overcame it physically, and then two, you overcame it mentally. And at least for us exercising, it's like I need to have I need to be able to see clear progress. And like if I'm just like running or like lifting weights, it's like for me, being able to lift more or whatever doesn't do anything for me. But me being like, last week I couldn't do this route, this week I could. That is clear progress that I can see, and that is really, really satisfying. And it makes you want to keep going. And so, yeah, we really love rock climbing. In a gym we like a lot is actually near Mike's place now, which is where our studio is. I live like an hour away from Mike. And so it's nice to really rock climb more often again, because the biggest issue is we just don't have a gym that's very close to us. But now we finally do. So
now we do, and now it's closed. You're like, what?
And now a global pandemic happened. Yeah. So, but nonetheless,
it's the only downside of the job that we do. You sit and play board games, which is the coolest job, but it's not very mobile. So it's like we need to work out this whole we got to get out and about and get outside and
scorpions around and just it's just dodging stuff the whole time. You gotta keep
every
moving.
game becomes a dexterity game then.
Well, I think Nick, you hit on a really interesting point. Like I feel like as also a child of the 90s that we had a huge disservice done to us with PE and in school when we were kids, because it was all about just doing these horrible things that nobody wanted to do, that were embarrassing and awful. But if you find something you really love doing that is active, then you should just do that. And don't worry about if you're not going to the gym. Don't worry about if you aren't good at running a mile. Like those things are irrelevant. Like just find something that's really enjoyable. And for me, like I love hiking, and I live in Montana, so I'm really lucky that way. There's tons of great hiking around here, and ice climbing. So if you ever want to do ice climbing, come out to Montana. We have like world-class ice climbing out here. But I really it's beautiful, yeah. But I didn't discover hiking until I was an adult, because I just never had anyone who told me, let's go outside and do something. And so it's great now in being able to live in this place and go hiking, but I don't ever think about it as exercising. It's just something that I crave doing, and that's what you need to find for yourself. So I do that on the weekends, and then during the weekdays, I do agility with my dog, which is also an incredibly active sport. And takes a ton of effort and training, and it's very mental, and I really like that about it too. So for everybody who is trying to think of good ways to work out right now and get a little active because you've been stuck inside for a long time, just find anything that you really like doing, and it doesn't matter what it is, just start there.
That's absolutely the key. Like there's nothing worse than the 8-minute mile. It's like the standard of fitness or whatever. You're like, what does that mean? And like, if you like running, and I know people that like running, like lean into it for sure. If you like this thing, lean into it. It doesn't matter what it is or how hardcore it is. Like do something that you enjoy, start small, start something that's repeatable, and just lean into the things you like, because then it becomes like with climbing, it was always this like wonderful side effect that we got in shape. And, at one point we were climbing a lot and we're in really good shape. I never once thought about doing it for that reason, which is like amazing. It was just something that was very fulfilling. So it's cool that you get to hike and stuff. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's really, like you said, just about having something that you want to go do. Like, do you want to get to the top of that mountain? Do you want to be able to climb up this rock? And that's really motivating. So that's awesome. I feel very connected to you guys, even though we've only been for 40 minutes. I really want to meet you sometime. It'll be very exciting.
I know we've seen you like passing in cons, and that's like it, just like this.
What I'm gonna do though, just so you know, since you do agility training, I'm going to bring my dogs, and I'm gonna leave them with you for a good long while,
a year or so.
You will train them. You won't be paid, but they're very cute, and
you'll get paid in cuddles,
and pick them up, and I'll have amazing dogs all of a sudden. I love them a lot. But like the agility thing, we have like this very beginner agility thing, and it just doesn't work. They go into like the tunnel and just lay down and like roll around, which is horrible. I'm like, I don't want you to be on the TV, like the cool thing. I don't have the skills at all. I just do like do that. And they're like, what does that mean? I'm like, I don't understand what I'm saying, dog.
I know.
That's very cool that you do that. I'm jealous. Super jealous.
Well, and I think dog training is exactly the same. Like, I love doing it, and so it's not a task for me. Like,
Yeah.
every single day when I wake up in the morning, I get out of bed early because I want to go and have that extra time with my dog to do training. But if you don't want to do that, then it's like running that 8-minute mile. It's just horrendous. So don't subject your dog to that if you don't want to be there doing it.
That's a good point.
Yeah, they'll enjoy just cuddling with you and it'll be fine. But if you do come and drop off your dogs for agility training, you wouldn't be the first one to do that.
Yeah, you're like, cool. Okay, I'll do it.
It's good. Oh, fantastic. So there's one other thing on my list I really wanted to chat with you guys about. So I heard that there is a live show that you're going to start doing. Do you want to tell us about that? It sounds very exciting.
Indeed.
Yeah, so we've been doing live playthroughs like we talked about earlier for 2.5 years now. It's been quite a while. And we always are looking for new things to do, things that are, again, leaning into those interests that we have. So hence the painting streams that we're doing. And one thing that we used to always love doing was going to like pub trivia. So we go to this pizza place and we would do, it was just random trivia about any and all topics, including occasionally board game things would show up. And we'd crush those one rounds. And so it's always been something we've enjoyed. I think it's super duper fun. And we have a podcast that we do called This Game is Broken, which has a big trivia element to it. It's very funny and silly and stuff, but we have questions and people sort of, as they listen from home, can see sort of play along. So we thought, like, what's a way we can do this where people can literally play along, like using their phone or on their computer, and like whatever they input will get put into a system. So we use this software called CrowdPur to build out rounds of trivia that are all about board games. So it's called This Quiz is Broken. And they're going to be things that we're going to live stream every other Thursday starting in 2 weeks' time, so the 21st of May at 6 p.m. West Coast time. And we're going to have different rounds that are themed and stuff that are based off of our podcast that are fun and entertaining, and all the questions are going to pertain to all of our very specific hobby, our very specific interest level. So they're all going to be about board games and stuff. We have all sorts of different games we do, and the cool thing is you can literally play along, and what you answer in will show up live, and it'll track your scores.
And there's rankings too, like you get points if you get it right or get it wrong or not. And the answers are either going to be like multiple choice or write-in answers. So like we did like a kind of a last tech dress rehearsal last night, actually. So if you want to, you can go over to our Twitch channel and watch the VOD of it. And we did the whole thing. But we did a game called Component Corner, where we put up a picture of a component, and then you have to write in what you think it is. And it's like something like that. Or we have games that we play on This Game is Broken, where like we'll read an excerpt from a rule, but we'll leave out every other word. And then you have to then guess what game that rule is from. So it'll be like draw cards, then place tableau. And then you have to like try and try to suss out what it all is. So we're playing games like that, just fun, silly games where you have to test your board game knowledge, but also have a good time, get some laughs in. And then we host it. We made like long, like Bob Barker mics. That mic right there. We put a little meeple on the end of it, so you can be like walking like da-da-da, da-da-da. And it's real ridiculous.
Hello?
But yeah, we can have up to 100 people playing at one time, and all you need is a phone or a computer, because you just type in the website, and then we give you a code to get into our specific game, and then you play along, and we'll show the rankings so you can see how well you're doing compared to everyone else. And it's just like pub trivia, except for it's over the interwebs.
It's always
and
about
so we're gonna be doing that
enjoy.
every other Thursday, starting 2 Thursdays from yesterday.
Yep.
And you can still drink beer and eat buffalo
You
wings.
can still do whatever you want.
You can do it more
be
because ain't no one
hammered the
driving
whole
anywhere.
time if you want. Yeah. You don't get anything for winning. There's no prizes. Come on.
If you're all sloppy and stuff, literally no one can see you.
Literally.
So
it's the
fine.
best situation.
We won't. We'll keep it together so that you don't have to. It'll be really great.
You can be a hot mess. Yeah.
All the time for me. If you guys could just always keep it together so I don't have to.
You got
That
it.
would be-
We're everybody's rock during this time. No, but it's super duper fun. We keep it light and silly, and it's all for laughs and stuff. So it's just like, come see people always talk about with our show, they're like, how do you not get these answers right and stuff? Like, I'm screaming when I'm listening to This Game Is Broken. We're like, okay, we'll put you on the spot, see how you do in the moment. People are like, this is kind of hard. I'm like, yeah, right, and stuff.
Exactly, it's really hard.
Questions at you. So, no, but we have lots of fun ideas for it, and all sorts of different rounds and stuff. So we hope that it's something that you can come just watch. You can literally participate from home. We don't have, it's low stakes. It's just for fun. So we encourage everyone to come try. It's all free. We just want to create something fun for people to do, on a nice weekday every so often. So come on down and check it out.
I will definitely check that out. That sounds great.
Yeah.
So I have just a few quick things to tell our viewers, and then I would love some viewer questions. So if anybody is watching, please think about those and type them into the chat. While we're waiting for those questions to get conglomerated by Desiree, who's helping us out today, I did want to tell everybody we're doing a spring sale. That's on our website right now. If you just go to renegadegames.com, you'll see the banner for it. And we're doing more than 50% off a whole bunch of great games and a bundle where you can get Wendake, Reichelt, Castell, and Passing Through Petra, a whole bunch of really good Euro games for just $100 and free shipping. And it's only going through May 19th. So make sure and jump on that. But also, if you have not yet, make sure you go and sign up for our contest where we're giving away a free copy of Wendake and a free copy of the Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid Allies pack.
So right.
2018 right there.
That's right. Make sure you go and sign up for those things. All right, Desiree.
Sorry, did you say the code word for that one?
No, I forgot to say the code word. Okay, so when you're filling out the form, you're going to need the code word. And because we have some fantastic artists on our stream today, the code word is Painted Rangers.
Ooh, I like that.
Terry's been painting some Rangers. I've been tuning in whenever they're painting. It's been real fun.
Painting them Rangers.
We're trying to come together, do a joint stream, us and Terry. So I have no idea when that's happening, but we're trying to
figure it out. We're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, Terry is a really good teacher. I think she has a lot of good ideas for new painters, so could be helpful there, Mike. Awesome. Desiree, any other questions from our fans?
Yes, we do have a few. So one was actually just a request for, I believe, Mike, if you can say, I guess, your catchphrase just once. The dang.
Oh, dang.
Yes.
That's probably it. Yeah.
Yes. So we had a request for that. And then how did you two get involved with Paula Deming?
Oh man, we saw her trajectory was going like this, and we grabbed her coattails and hung on for dear life. We started on really. This was like a year ago. She started making amazing videos, and we're like, who is this person? Where did she come from? Yeah. And then our other friend Matthew Jude and Nick and her do another podcast called Death by Monsters, and so we kind of all came together through Matthew. Matthew kind of got us all introduced to each other, and we all have similar sensitive humor and stuff. And so it's just one of those things that we all just kind of got along real quick. And then Nick, Paula, and Matthew do a podcast together. And so it's just sort of been this like amazingly lucky thing that she happens to live in Los Angeles and near us. And Matthew saw fit to kind of make sure that we all got connected up together. So we're super lucky.
And she does if you don't know, she does like sketch comedy on her channel, Things Get Dicey, which is incredible. And like we do like sketch comedy for board games too. And it's a trajectory that we've always wanted to go lean more and more into doing, because it's not something there's not much of that. Most board game content is like very information based, which is great. It's just, this is how it plays. This is what I think of it. That's like a lot of board game content. And so one of our main things is ours is always going to be entertainment based, because that's a part of board game content creation that when we started this, we thought was kind of lacking. And so we've always wanted to do more and more sketch comedy. And so Paula came on and just started crushing it with the sketch comedy. We ended up just getting in touch just because we all kind of do a similar thing, and through our friend Matthew. And then we found out she lives in LA as well, because she's an actress. And so we started hanging out, and now she's one of our best friends, and we hang out as often as we possibly can.
Super duper lucky.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's fantastic. I think comedy is actually one of the hardest forms of entertainment to get right because humans are so connected to it. Like it's such an intrinsic part of who we are as a society. And it's just really hard to fake that. And it comes off as being just weird if you do comedy poorly. Whereas a lot of other things, like you can do bad, like sci-fi or bad fantasy or whatever. And it's just kind of like silly and you like it better.
Yeah.
But if you do bad comedy, ugh.
Nah, it just doesn't
Oh,
work.
great. Yeah.
I'm so impressed when people can get it right. And I think you guys do that really well, and so does Paula. So that's great to have you guys all connected.
Paula's the best.
Thank you. Yeah, we just try to bring our personal brand of weirdness to people. Like we, think things people have always glommed onto with us. It's just our energy. Like we're just kind of generally optimistic, fun, silly people, not afraid to yell dang. And like we have a lot of fun when we play board games, and so that's been, I think, our strength and thing we want to lean into is like we just want to make board games seem as fun as as they really are as we're playing them. We want to just kind of celebrate the joy of the hobby, because if you see ever a group of people that are having a really good time doing whatever they're doing this. You just want to be a part of that thing. You're drawn to that. So that's something we've always just tried to lean into, like, hey, we get a lot of joy out of this hobby and making these videos, and we just want to share that with people to help grow the hobby, be really good ambassadors for the hobby.
That's awesome. Very cool. Awesome. Anything else?
Yes, there's a few more.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm sure people love hearing from you. This is great. So, do you have any good pointers on highlighting dark minis like the Black Ranger, for example?
Ooh. I'll take this one, Nick.
Okay,
the thing is, no, go ahead.
Let me bring my official mic in here, please. Mike with his mic.
That Nick painted.
The problem with highlighting black is, or any kind of dark color, but specifically white and black, is it's hard to keep it to read as black. That's the main issue. And so what you need to think of is the natural feeling is you should, if you're highlighting up from like black, like you're doing Nemesis or something that's a very alien, you're the Black Ranger or something like that, is your instinct will be highlight up with gray. The problem is once you get one or two layers up from black, it's just going to start reading as gray. And there's not a gray ranger. Those are the putty people. So unless someone's turning sides, you don't want that. So I would suggest is you want to highlight up with a different color. So what you'll probably do is I would say highlight up with either blue or purple. Now you won't take it super, super high highlights because then it'll start reading as blue or purple. But if you highlight up with blue or purple, it'll still read as black, but you'll still get some lightness in there. If you think of like you look at a black car that's very shiny, most of it isn't black. It's grays and silvers, and it's reflecting all this other stuff, but it still reads as black. So you kind of have to think of it as that, is you highlighting up in something like gray, which is the natural progression because halfway between black and white is gray, but that's not actually how color works. And so generally I would highlight up with blue, and then maybe even purple, and you can take it pretty far and it'll still read as black. But that's what I would suggest is don't highlight it with either blue or purple.
That's what Nick does to me every week. He's just like, let me tell you, the colors are not colors.
Colors aren't real. Let's just talk
this
about
thing
that.
is pink, so I'm painting it green because that's what makes it pink. And I'm like, what are you talking about? But it's real. It's true. The things he does are right because that's how light works. So what Nick said, do that thing, even though it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. I would never have figured out to do that. So that's cool.
Awesome. And since we're on Power Rangers, they're asking preference, I think, for bulk or skull.
I was like skull.
I'm down.
One of our roommates,
one of
our old roommates is like really good friends with those two dudes who played Bulk and Skull, and I never got to meet them, and I was very upset about that. But
Skull.
Probably Skull, yeah.
Because you put them together and we're basically
Team Rita. That's my team. Team Rita. Rita's the best.
And then since are you guys quarantining together? It looks like you're not. But do you guys play games together online? If not,
we play games together online. And then he actually is coming here. We work here where I am currently. So we have the situation where Nick lives elsewhere, and he just comes here to our work, my lady and our dogs and stuff. We're all quarantined kind of together. We were quarantining actually. We were in Europe when all this started.
Yeah.
So we've been together the whole time. So he's now going back and forth between his house and here. And that's the only time he leaves the house.
I'm quarantining with my 2 roommates who also are quarantining. So it's like literally I go from my apartment to my car to Mike's place, and then my car, then my apartment. Yeah. And I haven't seen anyone other than those 3 to 5 people for like 2 months now. But so we're not.
We kind of worked out
together,
the situation where the 5 of us all have kind of agreed to sort of keep this thing going so that we can still work. So anytime we're playing games and stuff, if it's not during a like work time, we're playing like on Tabletopia. I'm playing when keeping in touch with friends there. We've been doing like playing Decrypto and stuff over a FaceTime call or just different games that work well remotely. So we're finding ways to play games still, you know.
Awesome. And then where did the question go? There it is. You guys read fantasy, so have you read Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere stuff? And if so, which is your favorite book of them all?
What was it? Cosmere?
I think that's what it says. Cosmere. I'm not sure if it's supposed to say something else. Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere.
Yeah. See, I know Brandon Sanderson. I like Brandon Sanderson a lot. I've read his Mistborn series. I haven't read his Lightbringer series because the books are so big, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna take so long. But I recently read, and I've been straight forcing Mike to read it, although I think you're enjoying it, is his Reckoners series. It's real good. Is really, really, really good. And I like his Mistborn series a lot. And yeah, he's become one of my favorite authors. I like Brandon Sanderson a lot.
Yeah. Reckoners is super good. Highly recommend it. What if Superman was super evil? That's basically the setup for it.
Also takes place in Chicago, which is interesting.
It does.
We're a Chicago-based fantasies.
Or New Chicago in that one. So but Reckoners.
Read the Reckoners.
We know Brandon Sanderson, if not that specific series.
Yeah, I don't know what that series is, but if it's Brandon Sanderson, I'll read it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's a fun one. So let's say a publisher wants to make a Nick and Mike game about the Brothers Murph. What are the 2 main mechanics that would have to be in there?
Flailing?
I love this one.
It's got to be mostly flailing.
Yes.
Probably screaming.
Yeah, there's an audio interface that just provides scream sounds. What would it be?
I don't know. It would probably be worker placement because
I have to have worker placement.
But it's got to be ridiculous and just overall too much. And so because that's very the Brothers Murph.
It'd be the perfect blend
everyone's just kind of like, you're a little
Renegade.
Much, and we agree. Our mother particularly very much agrees. And so
said not a fan of what you do.
She's really like that much.
I'm thinking Shire. That sounds like
exactly.
It'd be a Cones of Dunshire.
It's got to be generally too much and too long. Probably worker placement, some dexterity, so some silliness and chaos can go in there. You know, real time, but the real time is 6 hours. You know.
6 hours of nonstop speed round game.
But definitely worker placement. That's the only thing I can say definitively. And with banger art, because art's a big deal for us in games.
Yes, the art would be supreme.
Really good. No game, just art.
Awesome. Someone saying knife fighting mechanic?
Probably, yeah. Some kind of stabbing or sharp objects, juggling, you know?
Yeah, keeps the game exciting.
Exactly.
Whatever. After 6 hours, you start to tire out, so you got to keep it like lively.
Comes with the shark.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? It comes with a little pool, little tiny little shark.
Listen, we have all that money from these movies we've made, so it's going to be a big.
Brothers Murph and Renegade are going to the top in Hollywood, so obviously.
I'm glad we have some spare cash lying around.
Yeah, you know,
you're gonna need it.
It's gonna be huge.
This game will not make money, but it's gonna be good.
And then, what's next for the brothers? Any cool videos to look forward to?
Ooh, yeah, we, as always, are doing, trying to do different things and stuff. So we have a cool one, coming up soon, later this month, called Murph to Murph. So it's going to be, us playing cribbage, which is a card game our grandparents taught us, you know, way back when, before we knew about modern board games and stuff. And it's going to be kind of a question and answer thing, about the hobby, about each other and stuff. So it'll be a good way to kind of learn about, our opinions and stuff on the hobby in a really conversational way. It'll be kind of a cool, chill vibe. So that's something we're looking forward to because it'll be a little different than anything we've done before.
Yeah, like what's the show you watch, Mikey? Dinner with Five or
Dinner? Yeah, Dinner for Five and stuff.
Dinner for Five. It's kind of like that. Just like a discussion about the
This
hobby.
thing we love.
Yeah, and but kind of again casually and over, and we'll have a different topic. So we've been wanting to do that for a while.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sounds awesome. I love cribbage. That'll be fantastic.
Which is
Oh, yeah.
great.
It's a perfect game to talk over while you play.
And then we'll do one last one because I know we're getting to the 5 o'clock mark. So, do you guys do any other podcasts?
Snap, other than the 5 we do. So we do This Game is Broken, which is a board game panel show where a bunch of idiots are given a bunch of idiotic things to do. So we do that together. And then Nick is a part of Death by Monsters, which is a fantastic show that goes into monsters, mysteries, and the unknown, right, Nick? Or
that's the tagline.
Whatever your tagline
monsters,
is.
mysteries, and the unknown, Death by Monsters. Yeah, so it's we always just like monsters, like Bigfoot, and all this different kind of stuff, and just like weird, stories about like the one I'll give you a little thing. There's a rumor that Paul McCartney's been dead since '66, and they just have like a double that's been there. That's like this conspiracy that's going on. So we recorded an episode today. Little spoiler. That's what in a couple weeks. That's one that's going to come out pretty soon. And so it's like these like weird like mysteries and kind of conspiracies and monsters and stuff. And it's with Paula Deming, myself, and then Matthew Jude. And Matthew Jude is the host because he really gets like really deep down the rabbit hole of this kind of stuff. And he's an incredible writer. And so it's a really, really fun podcast. It has nothing to do with board games, though. It just happens to have 3 kind of board game personalities in it. But literally, board games never, ever come up because it's not about that. We just all met through board games. And then that's it. We don't have any other podcasts that we're on. That's 2 is enough. Podcasts are a lot of work. They're more work than they seem.
Sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then before we just head out, if you, Sarah, could mention the code word again. Some people missed it, so.
Oh, yes. The code word is Painted Rangers.
Awesome.
Painted Rangers.
Thank you.
Because hopefully you'll all go home, well, you're already home, and pull out your Power Rangers and start painting them.
Paint them.
So
it's a good starter kit. It is.
And I'm
That's
really
right,
excited.
yeah.
Full gamut.
You
Got the
just-
full gamut.
If you just want a whole bunch of minis that you can start painting on, even if you don't intend to play the game, which I highly recommend that you do because it's super fun, cooperative, blah, blah, blah. It has a ton of miniatures in that box for $90.
Sure does.
So really, really good to start painting.
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Well, fantastic. Thank you both so much for coming, and thank you,
Thanks for
Desiree,
having
for
us.
moderating.
Yes.
Thank you, friends, for being here. We really appreciate all of you being involved in our silly regular radio show that we do every Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So come back next week. We have another guest I'm very excited to talk to. He obviously will not be as exciting as you two because it's just
we're not that cool.
You say exciting. A lot of other people just say loud. So
Yeah, that's
we appreciate how nice you're being.
I don't know about that.
No, we're good.
Well, it should be super fun. We're looking forward to it, and we'll have to check out all of your shows that you mentioned because those
Yes,
also
please.
sound like lots of new good stuff. And we're really happy you were here. So thank you so much, and we will talk to you later. All right.
Thanks for having us.
Bye, everybody.